Hi guys, how are you? So long time no see. I've been dealing with a lot of grief from losing one of my best friends. I found out I lost one of my best friends the night I made my first Selena Not Afraid video, and I've been trying so hard to stay focused on these cases, and just Selena's I feel like was so powerful and so moving to me. And going to the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women's March down in Hardin for her disappearance and just needing answers, and meeting all of her family. They were so sweet and so welcoming. As soon as I got out of my truck, they were just so nice and caring, and it was just like you were with family as soon as you met them, and I had never even met these people in my life. But just going there and meeting Selena's family and how thankful they were that I made that video and that I got her name out there was just so inspiring to me, and it's giving me the chills right now even talking about it, because I've never met people that were so welcoming the second you met them. I've never been around so much love. Her Aunt Misty just picked up my son immediately and just held him and squeezed him as if he was her own. Like, it was just the most kind people, and it really just opened my eyes to how many stereotypes are out there. And I do have a video coming up with one of Selena's family members, and she is going to tell you guys what really happened from her perspective, what went down, because she's actually the one that dropped Selena off at that party. And when I introduce you guys to her and I show you guys how sweet and caring and kind she is, it's just really gonna take what you see on surface value and not knowing her background or not knowing where she comes from to meet her family who raised her. It just puts it in so much different perspective. So I'm really excited for that video. That should be filmed hopefully this weekend if we are able to meet up, and she's going to take me to where Selena's body was found. So I am very excited for that video with her aunt. And even Jake, my boyfriend, when I told him that we were going to this march and that it was probably going to be a lot of Native Americans, you know, he was a little timid because he is a white man. And I guess when we first moved out here, someone said to him, like, be careful going on the reservations looking like you do, because you look like an authentic white man. Like, the natives aren't gonna like you. And he actually got out of the truck first to go meet Selena's family and ask them where we were marching and what was going on. And when he came back to the truck, he was just like, wow, that is probably one of the nicest people I have ever met. And in an instant of meeting her family and all of her friends and everyone that was there for her, just in a 10-second, hey, where are we marching? Is it okay if we park here? Interaction, his entire facade of what Native Americans are had changed just by meeting Selena's family. That's how sweet and kind these people are. And it really just opened my eyes, and it opened his eyes too, that this isn't just, oh, they're Native, that's why this is happening to them. These are people too. Some of the best people I have ever met. And it's just so comforting, and it really makes me feel like home here in Montana, because I feel like in bigger cities, that connection and that family bond is just not really there. And it just really inspired me. So thank you, Selena's family, and thank you guys for showing me the light and showing me that there are still good people out there, because it really did inspire me. And I'm really look forward to the next time I meet with Selena's aunt and we really get the true story out about what happened to her, because it is not just an accident. And you guys should stay tuned for that. If you aren't already, hit that subscribe button, because I'm not letting these girls' stories go and disappear. I'm not letting it happen. I'm going to keep making these videos, and I'm going to keep putting their stories out there, because the resemblance and the similarities are just unbeatable. It is so frustrating and ridiculous. This story of Hannah Harris is one of those that has left me shaking in disbelief. Once again, police work, just brush it off as it's not important to them. And in this case, a mother, a young single mother, life was taken, and a little boy, a little 10-month boy, was left abandoned. This story is going to break your guys' hearts, so just be prepared and let's just get right into it. So Hanna Harris was 21 years old and she had just moved back to Lone Deer on the Cheyenne Reservation in Montana with her 10-month-old son. Hanna was described as spontaneous. She loved to have a good time. She was loved by so many people. She never met an enemy. Her cousin said that she was always kind of the troublemaker and she was always, you know, getting into trouble or getting them into trouble. And I can relate to this because that's how I was described when I was younger, as the troublemaker. My mom would call me the cat in the hat because I would go over to people's houses and I would just rile them up and we would get into trouble, and I was just crazy. We were very crazy, spontaneous, loved to have fun. But once she had her son Jeremiah, she definitely changed modes. And I can relate to this as well. As soon as I had my son, it was like my world has changed. I had matured so much, I had grown up so much, and that's what her family said about her, that having a baby really made her grow up, and she loved her son more than anything. She was breastfeeding him still up to this point. And when it came time to July 4th on the Cheyenne Reservation, they have their annual 4th of July powwow. And this story really stuck out to me because I recently have been searching for powwows and stuff for my family to do since it is warming up, and they have their annual powwow on the 4th of July. So Hanna really wanted to go to this. You know, it's a special day, it's a huge celebration. Everyone in the town, in this small little town, thousands of people come to this thing. People from even outside of the reservation come just to celebrate. It's supposed to be a huge event. So she got her uncle to babysit her son. Not out of the ordinary. She's 21 years old. Every mom deserves to go out and have a good time every once in a while. And according to her friends and family, she really wasn't partying that much. This was like a once in a while that she would go out. And you know, she got a babysitter. She did everything the right way. She went out and had a great time at this party. Her cousin actually ran into her that night and said that she was having so much fun. She was drinking a little bit and that she was just dancing her heart away. She's never seen her dance that much in her entire life. She was just having a great time. It was her mom's night out. Her baby was back at home safe, and she was just enjoying herself. She was having a great time. But once the party started to settle down and it was time to leave, her cousin, you know, was arguing back and forth with her, you know, give me your keys, you're not good to drive. And of course she's like, no, I got it, I'm good, I can drive, don't worry. And so she left. And I can relate to this as well, because there have been times where either my friends are too drunk or I'm too drunk. This was when I was younger, and we would be, you know, fighting over who's driving home. It's just one of those things that when you're in the moment, you think you're good, but you might not be. So that was it. They both parted their ways and they figured everything was fine. That Thursday morning at 6 a.m., her mom, Melinda, went into her shift at the gas station on the reservation, and one of the first people that came into her gas station let her know that her daughter's car was on the side of the road with both tires flat and she was nowhere to be found around the car. So of course her mom goes into a panic, as any mom would. She's at work. She can't really do anything in that moment until her shift is over. But she starts asking around town. She starts asking everybody, have you seen Hanna? Has anyone seen Hanna? And everyone's response was, no, we haven't seen Hanna since the night before. When her mom got off work, her and her daughter Rose went to the car to check out what was going on. They had no idea where Hanna was. Their only clue was that her car was on the side of the road abandoned. So when they went there, they opened the door and nothing seemed out of the ordinary besides the fact that Hanna was not in there. And they were actually scared to open up the trunk because it's not an unknown thing to Native Americans that there's this epidemic of missing, murdered Indigenous women. You basically grow up in fear that you will become that statistic and you will become part of that percentage. And obviously this is instilled in these girls, but that doesn't deny that this still happens no matter how careful you can be. And so they were really scared. They just had that feeling like this is just going to be another one of these missing girls that's going to go unnoticed by police, and basically we're on our own. Having faith, her mom still went to police, even though natives, you know, are told, even if you go to the police, there's really no point because they're not gonna do anything for you. She still had faith that the police would do something, and her daughter was missing. She had a 10-month-old son at home, probably running out of breast milk at this point. He was only breastfed, so you know, it's not going for long periods of time like that away from your kid when you're breastfeeding. Your baby needs to eat and your boobs start to get engorged. So they knew that this wasn't what was going on. They knew she wasn't just, you know, sleeping off a hangover. They knew that she would have been home, or she would have called, or she would have made other arrangements. But the fact that they hadn't heard from her, and then now her car is found at the end of Muddy Creek, which is basically just a dead end on this reservation, it was just all bad. The entire scene was just all bad. So her mom went to police, and they basically blew her off, telling her that she was probably just out partying and not to worry, and that if she didn't come home by Monday, then they would do an investigation and file a missing persons report. It's Thursday that she comes to the police telling them that her daughter, who's a mother with a 10-month-old baby that needs to be fed, is missing. And their excuse is she's probably just partying, go home, she'll probably show up, and if she doesn't by Monday, 4 days later, then we'll do something about it. Knowing that something is wrong, Melinda and Rose investigate this murder on their own, because they knew at this point that police were not going to do anything, and they needed to get a lead and they needed to get information. So they start asking around town. They start, you know, a small town, people talk. So they start asking, you know, their neighbors, their friends, who was she with, who did she leave with, and they finally come across this couple. And the word around town was that Hannah was last seen with this couple named Garrett Wada and Eugenia Rowland. So continuing to investigate this story, the mom finds out that this couple went to the Jimtown bar right outside of the reservation and that they were hanging out there. So she goes straight there to try to confront these people about where her daughter is, and of course they're gone. So she asks the owner to see the surveillance footage, and he agrees to show her, and she sees the couple on there, and she's just shocked but also a little defeated because now they're not at this bar. And she starts asking him questions, you know, where are they going? What are they doing? She ends up tracking this couple down to a grocery store, and she actually gets Eugenia to agree to get in her car and go down to the police station so that they can interview her, because she doesn't believe that they had nothing to do with her daughter's disappearance. So she literally gets the suspect, convinces one of them to come with her to police, which I'm surprised she agreed to do. She drives her to the police station, presents her to the police like, hey, this is the last person to see my daughter. Can you please investigate her? I've already done all your legwork. Here's the suspect. Can you please do a thorough investigation and question her about where my daughter is? And the police do a half-ass questionnaire on this lady and release her. So that's the second slap in the face to this family, because they literally brought the suspect to police to do their job, which is find out where their daughter is, and they let her slip right through their fingers as if they didn't even care. So at this point, the family feels so defeated. Could you imagine if your daughter went missing, you did all this work, you already went to police, they won't file a police report, and then you bring them the suspect in your daughter's disappearance and they just let her go? So after all odds, they put together a search party on their own with their community to try to find their daughter, because the police wanted nothing to do with it. They were just too good for this case. It just wasn't even a bother to them. They were like, no. So they're searching and searching. The entire community came together to try to find Hannah. And while the mom is searching for her daughter's body in a field 2 miles out, one of her friends come up to her and say, hey, Garrett and Eugenia just showed up. They're trying to, you know, sway the search party in another direction, and they're here to search for her. And the mom was like, oh hell no, like let's go. Like they're not gonna be here for this, because she knew that they had something to do with it. So she goes up to Eugenia and Garrett and confronts them like, what are you doing here? Where is my daughter? Like, why would you show up to her search party? Like, you are the most guilty people in this entire situation. So why would you show up? Like, it was just so weird that they would show up to her search party when the mom already accused you guys of having something to do with it. Like, where's the logic? But I guess she spooked them off because they decided to flee the state because the mom literally confronted them about her missing daughter, and then they fled the state. So on January 8th, Hanna's body was so badly decomposed when they found it that they couldn't even determine a cause of death. They couldn't perform a rape kit. They couldn't get DNA from her body. They literally had nothing because her body was so badly decomposed. This is in July we're talking about. And so basically they have her body, but the coroner, they couldn't even do an autopsy because that's how badly her body was decomposed. They couldn't even find her cause of death. What caused her to die? And how did she end up in this field? Like, obviously, we all know our minds are going to she was murdered, but without that DNA and without that proof, it was going to be so hard to convict whoever did this to her of murder because the police were already, you know, not having anything to do with it. They only got involved when the body was found. That's when they got involved. If they would have gotten involved sooner, possibly they could have found her before her body was decomposed and hopefully got in the right DNA, did a rape kit, and, you know, charged whoever did this for everything that they did to her. So Gina ends up being the only person who confesses. Garrett did not confess this entire time. Once they were arrested and detained and were questioned, Gina was the only one who, you know, gave a confession. And her confession was that they all went back and they all fell asleep because they had been drinking and partying, so they just went back to fall asleep. And she wakes up in the middle of the night to Hanna screaming help because she's being raped by Garrett. And Eugenia gets up and goes and tries to pull Garrett off of her and tries to, you know, make it stop. And somewhere in the midst of that, gets mad at Hanna, because I'm pretty sure her and Garrett were dating, gets mad at Hanna, ends up beating Hanna to death, and then has Garrett get rid of the body. So she was charged with second-degree murder and is serving 22 years in prison. And Garrett, who was raping her, they couldn't prove that he raped her because it was only her word against his and he wasn't saying anything. So they couldn't prove that he raped this girl, and that's what caused her death, because if he didn't rape her, none of this would have happened. They would have just woken up in the morning. He can't even get charged with rape because her body was so badly decomposed that they couldn't even do a rape kit to connect him to that. So he only ends up serving 10 years for moving a body. So while this is all going on, we still have Jeremiah, the 10-month-old, who is left without his mother. He's a breastfeeding baby, and he was basically starving himself because he wanted his mom and he wanted to breastfeed and he wanted her milk. He didn't want a bottle, he didn't want formula. So her family had to post on Facebook for breastfeeding moms to bring him to them so that he could feed, because his mom was deceased and he's breastfeeding, and breastfed babies can be very, you know, temperamental. They want what they want and they don't want anything else. They just want that comfort, the milk, the entire experience. They just want that, and nothing else will fulfill their needs. So they had to literally search for moms to feed this little 10-month-old baby boy because his mom was brutally murdered. It's just so heartbreaking. And I feel like if her body was found sooner and if police looked into this case more and did their job from the night that she went missing, they might have been able to find her. I mean, how do you look at a mother whose car is abandoned on the side of the road and is now missing and just be like, wait till Monday? Like, it just makes me so sick. And by the time they did get involved, her body was already found and it was already so badly decomposed because it's in the middle of July. It's just so heart-wrenching. So please be careful, you guys. You just never know. I'm pretty sure these people portrayed themselves as friends to her, you know, giving her a place to stay, giving her a ride home. Just be really careful. You never know what situation you're going to get yourself into. We do not need any more missing, murdered Indigenous women. We have enough. These girls have gone through so much. They shouldn't be afraid to live their life. They shouldn't be afraid of their hometown. And the fact that this happened on her reservation that she just moved back to is just so heartbreaking to me. It just makes me sick that this is happening to these girls, and the fact that she was a mother, my heart just breaks for her child that has to grow up in this environment and know his mother was murdered. No one should have to go through that. Children should not be left without mothers. Mothers should not be left without their children. This needs to stop. These girls aren't going to keep getting unnoticed. We're going to do something about it. I'm going to continue to go to Missing Murdered Indigenous Women's March, and I urge you guys, if you feel passionate about these and you see the similarities between police not caring and these girls' families having to solve their deaths, it's just ridiculous. No family should have to do that. Please get involved in your community. Look up Missing Murdered Indigenous Women's marches near you. Anything can make a difference. So I strongly urge you guys to do that, and let me know what you guys think about this case. I think it is just so heartbreaking, and it literally left me shaking of anger just that this happened. And I just hope that these stories give you guys some insight and make you guys more aware of this epidemic and how long it's been going on and how the similar police works in each case. Her death was just ruled undetermined. And I'm just so tired of police putting out these autopsies, these death reports that are just not accurate when you look at the facts. So don't take anything for face value, anything you see on the news. Do your own research. Put yourself in these people's situations. Put yourself in the family situation. How mad you would be if you went to the cops of your missing child and they told you to wait 4 days until they were even gonna do anything. And by that point, your daughter, her body was already found and badly decomposed. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it brings more awareness. And I just really want you guys to be safe out there. Don't be scared, but be safe. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one.